Fruit community organization based in Hartford, Connecticut. And this afternoon we're speaking with Chris Donovan, Speaker of the House.
Worried about mainly changes in the governor's budget. She proposed budget changes that would affect children in a lot of different ways in terms of health care costs, the Husky program, also cuts for the adults in the Husky program. That's kind of the main things. And also there's some early childhood cuts. There's the Children's Council, we're worried about that too. So there's a number of programs that help children out in our community that the governor has cut in her budget. We're looking to restore as much as we can. We're concerned is to get us out of this hole. If we just did it on cuts, the hole in our budget is so high that nobody would want to do the cuts we're talking about. I mean, if you just said no taxes and just find it in cuts, it would be terrible. It would be.
What taxes are we talking about?
Well, we'll be looking at some of the upper income level.
Positive message.
Well, the positive thing is for people who are of average means, we'll say average means, we're looking make sure that the budget doesn't hurt you, right, with cuts, etc. And we're also making sure we know you can't afford additional taxes, but there are some people who can afford.
Gentlemen, you've heard it straight from the speaker.
Thank you. This is a question that I have asked the rest of us on the council over and over again, but I'm anxious to hear what some of you who are far more expert than we are, how you feel about this. We know that the children who live in poverty are composed of children of color, either of Hispanic or Afro-American background, in numbers out of proportion to their percentage in the population. To what degree do you think this reflects the racism of the persistent racism of our country? To what degree? How do you account for this? I guess that would be the question. And how do we deal with that fact that I think we can't ignore as we talk about the issue of children who are poor? Nobody ever wants to answer that question. Nobody
else ever wants to ask it.
So let me crash
Dr.
into
Haskins.
this delicate area. We certainly have racism in the United States. I mean, it's impossible to deny that. But compared to the past, it certainly has been dramatically reduced by any measure that you select. So I don't think the primary issue is racism. The primary issue has to do with the condition in which black children and Hispanic children are reared. By the way, when Hispanic children come to the United States, immigrants come to the United States, Hispanics, they have very strong families, very low out-of-wedlock birth rates, very low divorce rates, and very high work rates. Within one generation, they become Americanized. They start having babies outside marriage, and they have a high divorce rate. Their work rates don't suffer very much, but there must be something in our water.
Wake up all the teachers, time to teach a new way.
The question is around racism and child poverty. Well, there's obviously a correlation here. The child poverty rate for African American and Latino kids is much higher than for the rest of the population. And this reflects all the barriers that there are, the institutionalization of racism and discrimination. And it ranges from the quality of the school systems that African American, Latino kids go to the job prospects, to the criminalization of young people, particularly young people of color. The studies that show, for example, that an African American young man is much more likely to end up in jail for smoking a joint than a young white male. And this affects his status now, and affects his likelihood of living in poverty. It affects the whole family. So yes, racism is important in so many ways, but I'd like to talk about another way that racism contributes to the problem of child poverty. Because there's an image out there that poverty, and particularly child poverty, is just a black problem or just a Latino problem. You have a picture in your mind